You open your phone, and within 5 minutes, you've already seen 3 vacations, 2 luxury cars, a rooftop dinner, a 6-figure side hustle, and someone your age buying their second home. Everyone looks rich. Everyone looks ahead. Everyone looks like they figured something out. But then, you close the app and check your bank account. And reality feels different. Here's the strange truth about America right now. Consumer spending is near record highs. Luxury travel is booming. Restaurants are packed. New cars are everywhere. But at the same time, credit card debt is over $1 trillion. Savings rates are near multi-year lows. Auto loan delinquencies are rising. More than half of Americans can't handle a surprise $1,000 expense. So what's going on? How can everyone look wealthy, while almost no one feels financially secure? The answer starts with something subtle. We no longer live in a production economy. We live in a performance economy. In the past, wealth was something you built quietly. You saved. You invested. You bought a house. You paid it off over decades. Nobody needed to see it. Today, visibility is everything. If you don't show it, it doesn't exist. Social media didn't just change communication. It monetized perception. Success is no longer measured by net worth. It's measured by optics. The car you drive. The apartment you rent. The places you travel. The brands you wear. The experiences you document. And the more visible your lifestyle is, the more successful you appear. This changes behavior. Because humans are status-driven creatures. And status used to be local. You compared yourself to your neighbors. Now, you compare yourself to influencers in Miami, tech founders in Austin, crypto traders in Dubai, fitness entrepreneurs in Los Angeles. Your comparison pool went from 50 people to 5 billion. And algorithms don't show average. They show extreme. They show the penthouse. They show the Lamborghini. They show the "I retired at 27" story. They show the highlight reel. So normal life starts to feel like failure. Even if you're doing fine. Even if you're stable. Even if you're responsible. It doesn't look impressive online. So people upgrade the visible parts of their lives first, before they upgrade their financial foundation. Here's where it gets dangerous. Looking rich has never been cheaper. You don't need to be wealthy to look wealthy. You just need monthly payments. Luxury car? Lease it. High-end furniture? Finance it. Designer clothes? Buy now, pay later. Vacation? Split it into 4 installments. The system has turned aspiration into a subscription model. And as long as the monthly number feels manageable, the illusion stays alive. That's the key. Not affordability. Manageability. If something costs $3,000 up front, it feels expensive. If it costs $120 a month, it feels doable. Even if it's financially irrational. This is how modern consumption works. We don't evaluate total cost anymore. We evaluate emotional impact versus monthly friction. And emotionally, looking successful feels powerful. It reduces anxiety. It boosts confidence. It signals belonging. Because deep down, most people aren't trying to be rich. They're trying to not feel left behind. Inflation made this worse. Rent climbed. Groceries surged. Insurance spiked. Interest rates jumped. But wages didn't rise fast enough to compensate. So real purchasing power shrank. And when people feel squeezed financially, something interesting happens. They don't always cut back. Sometimes they spend more. Because when the future feels uncertain, the present feels urgent. If buying a house feels impossible, you upgrade your apartment. If retirement feels abstract, you prioritize experiences. If long-term stability feels blocked, short-term enjoyment feels rational. You can't control the housing market, but you can control what you post this weekend. And posting something impressive feels like proof that you're still winning, even if the numbers say otherwise. There's also another shift happening. Ownership is declining. Subscription models are everywhere. You don't own movies. You stream them. You don't own software. You subscribe. You don't own music. You rent access. Even cars are increasingly leased. So psychologically, ownership feels less important than access. And access looks identical to ownership online. No one can tell if you own the car or lease it. No one knows if the trip was paid in cash or credit. No one sees the interest rate behind the image. Debt has become invisible, but it's everywhere. And here's the deeper issue. When everyone is performing prosperity, admitting financial stress feels like social suicide. So people stay quiet. They maintain the appearance. They protect the narrative. Because in a performance economy, your image feels tied to your opportunities. Employers look at your profile. Clients look at your lifestyle. Dates look at your aesthetic. Friends measure progress visually. So the pressure compounds. It's not just about money. It's about identity. And when identity is tied to visible consumption, restraint feels like regression. This is how you end up in a country where everyone looks rich, but financial anxiety is at record highs, where luxury is visible, but liquidity is scarce, where lifestyles expand, while balance sheets shrink. And this is only the surface, because underneath this illusion is something much bigger, a structural shift in how wealth is built, and who actually gets to build it. Let's go deeper, because this isn't just about bad spending habits. It's about a structural shift that most people haven't fully processed yet. For decades, the American middle class built wealth through three main pillars: home ownership, stable careers, employer-backed retirement plans. You bought a house at a reasonable multiple of your income. You stayed at one company for 20 or 30 years. You accumulated equity and pension benefits over time. Wealth was slow, but it was tangible. Today, those pillars look very different. Home prices in many cities are 6, 7, even 8 times the median income. Mortgage rates have doubled compared to just a few years ago. A 20% down payment feels like climbing Everest. So, millions of people are locked out. Not because they're irresponsible, but because entry costs exploded. Then, there's job stability. The modern labor market rewards flexibility, not loyalty. Gig work, contract roles, layoffs in waves. Entire departments eliminated overnight. Even high-income earners feel fragile. You can make $120,000 a year and still feel one email away from uncertainty. Retirement? Pensions are nearly extinct in the private sector. 401(k)s replace them, shifting the risk from employer to employee. Now, your retirement depends on market timing, contribution discipline, and your ability to not panic during crashes. So the burden of long-term wealth building moved from institutions to individuals. And at the exact same time, the cost of living surged. That combination is explosive. Because when traditional wealth paths narrow, people adapt. And the adaptation isn't always asset building. It's image building. If owning property feels unattainable, you optimize your lifestyle. If long-term security feels abstract, you maximize short-term experience. If the future feels unstable, you invest in the present version of yourself. And this is where consumer culture steps in. Brands don't sell products anymore. They sell identity upgrades. The car isn't transportation. It's status. The watch isn't time. It's proof. The apartment isn't shelter. It's branding. And in a world where social media is your public portfolio, branding feels essential. Think about this. In previous generations, your resume stayed on paper. Now your life is searchable. Your photos, your vacations, your aesthetic, they all contribute to perceived success. So consumption becomes marketing, and marketing requires investment. This is how debt gets normalized. Because it doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like positioning. I need a nicer place for networking. I need a better car for clients. I need to look put together. And sometimes, that's partially true. Appearances do influence perception. But the line between strategic investment and lifestyle inflation is razor thin. And algorithms blur it even more. Social platforms reward extremes. If you post something average, it disappears. If you post something aspirational, it spreads. So the feedback loop trains people to escalate. Bigger trips, better angles, more upgrades, more visible signals. And here's the psychological trap. Dopamine doesn't care about net worth. It cares about validation. A luxury purchase, followed by hundreds of likes, produces a real neurological reward. Saving $1,000 quietly produces almost none. So the brain starts associating spending with social reinforcement and restraint with invisibility. Over time, that shapes identity. You don't just buy things. You become the person who buys those things. And stepping down feels like losing status. That's why lifestyle inflation is so sticky. As income rises, spending rises faster. Not because people are reckless, but because social comparison scales with income. If you make $60,000, you compare yourself to others at $60,000. If you make $150,000, your comparison pool shifts upward. The target keeps moving, so the finish line disappears. Meanwhile, real wealth remains concentrated at the top. The top 10% owns the majority of financial assets. Stock ownership is heavily skewed. Business equity is even more concentrated. So asset appreciation disproportionately benefits those who already own assets. Everyone else? They finance the lifestyle of looking successful, while asset owners accumulate quietly in the background. That's the paradox. The loudest wealth is often leveraged. The quietest wealth is often compounding. And compounding doesn't photograph well. There's another uncomfortable truth. Many people are not broke. They're leveraged. There's a difference. They have income. They have access to credit. They can make the payments. But they don't have margin. Margin is the real luxury. Margin means a job loss doesn't destroy you. Margin means a medical bill doesn't spiral into collections. Margin means you can say no. Most people don't have margin. They have motion. Money comes in. Money goes out. Balances revolve. Payments stack. Everything looks fine. Until friction hits. A layoff. A rate hike. An unexpected expense. And suddenly the performance becomes stressful to maintain. This is why surveys show rising financial anxiety, even among higher earners. Because lifestyle and security are no longer aligned. You can look stable and feel unstable. You can look rich and feel one step from crisis. And that internal contradiction is exhausting. So when we ask, why does everyone look rich? The better question might be, what are we optimizing for? Are we optimizing for wealth? Or are we optimizing for perception? Because those two paths now diverge sharply. And most people don't even realize which road they're on. Now, let's talk about something even more uncomfortable. Because this isn't just cultural. It's mathematical. The American economy today runs on consumption. Roughly 70% of GDP is driven by consumer spending. That means the system doesn't just tolerate spending. It depends on it. If people suddenly stopped upgrading phones, financing cars, booking trips, and swiping credit cards, the economy would slow fast. So the entire structure nudges you towards spending. Advertising is no longer occasional. It's ambient. It follows you. It studies you. It predicts you. Algorithms know when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're celebrating, when you're vulnerable, and those are the exact moments when consumption feels like relief. Retail therapy isn't a joke. It's a business model. You had a bad week? You deserve something. You worked hard? Reward yourself. You're feeling behind? Upgrade. And because purchases are frictionless, now one click, saved card, instant approval, the emotional decision happens before the rational one. But here's the deeper layer. The cost of signaling wealth has dropped. The cost of building wealth has risen. That imbalance creates distortion. 30 years ago, buying a home, in many parts of America, required discipline, but it was achievable for a dual-income household. Today, in many major cities, even high earners struggle to qualify. College tuition has outpaced inflation for decades. Healthcare costs are unpredictable. Childcare rivals mortgage payments. So, the traditional milestones of wealth feel delayed or blocked. And when milestones shift further away, people redefine success. Instead of, I own property, it becomes, I travel often. Instead of, I'm debt-free, it becomes, I live well. Instead of, I have long-term security, it becomes, I'm enjoying life. And there's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying life. The problem is when enjoyment is financed by fragility, because fragility hides in plain sight. You see the $80,000 SUV. You don't see the 4-month loan at high interest. You see the luxury apartment tour. You don't see that 45% of income goes to rent. You see the European vacation. You don't see the credit card balance compounding quietly. Visibility hides leverage, and leverage magnifies risk. This is how you get a society where lifestyle appears elevated, but resilience declines. And here's something rarely discussed. When wealth inequality increases, visible consumption intensifies. Why? Because people at the top genuinely can afford extreme lifestyles. And social media flattens the context. You see a tech founder's home next to a middle manager's apartment. They appear in the same feed, but their financial foundations are worlds apart. So, expectations shift upward, without the underlying asset base to support them. That creates tension, and tension creates performance. Performance creates debt. Debt creates anxiety. Anxiety fuels more consumption for relief. It's a loop. Now layer in financial literacy gaps. Many people understand income. Fewer understand balance sheets. Net worth is rarely discussed socially. Cash flow management isn't glamorous. Compound interest works quietly for you or against you. If assets compound, you build wealth. If debt compounds, it extracts it. But both processes are invisible in daily life. You don't feel compounding. You feel monthly payments. So, behavior focuses on what's felt immediately. This is why high-income earners can still be financially trapped. Because income without asset accumulation is just expensive motion. Money flows in. Money flows out. And lifestyle expands to match it. There's a term for this: lifestyle creep. But it's more than creep now. It's acceleration. Promotions trigger apartment upgrades. Raises trigger car upgrades. Bonuses trigger travel upgrades. And none of it feels excessive because peers are doing the same. The social baseline keeps moving. So, comfortable becomes expensive. And rich becomes theatrical. Here's the irony. True wealth often looks boring. It looks like a paid-off Honda. It looks like a modest home bought below budget. It looks like unused credit lines. It looks like liquidity. But liquidity doesn't generate envy. Scarcity dressed as abundance does. And that's what we're seeing everywhere. Abundance aesthetics. Scarcity balance sheets. This is why financial stress is rising even in strong job markets. Because stability isn't just about income. It's about buffer. And buffers require saying no. No to upgrades. No to pressure. No to comparison. In a culture built on yes. So when you look around and feel like everyone else is ahead, remember this: You're comparing your internal reality to their external projection, and projections are curated. Balance sheets are not. The question isn't whether people are spending. Of course they are. The real question is, are they building anything underneath it? Or are they just maintaining the image? Because images are fragile, and the next economic downturn won't care how curated your life looks online. So where does this leave us? In a country where the aesthetic of wealth is everywhere, but the substance of wealth is increasingly rare. Let's zoom out one last time. There are two very different games being played right now. Game one is the visibility game. It rewards speed. It rewards aesthetics. It rewards upgrades. It rewards signaling. In this game, perception is power. You look successful, so people assume you are. You look stable, so people treat you as stable. You look wealthy, so you feel momentarily secure. But it's fragile, because visibility requires maintenance. Maintenance requires spending. Spending without margin creates pressure, and pressure compounds quietly. Then there's game two, the invisible game. It rewards patience. It rewards boring consistency. It rewards liquidity. It rewards restraint. No one claps when you max out a retirement account. No one applauds when you build a 6-month emergency fund. No one goes viral for paying off a 5% interest loan early. But those moves change your trajectory. The problem is, these two games look similar on the surface. Both can drive decent cars. Both can travel occasionally. Both can live in nice neighborhoods. But underneath, one has leverage. The other has options. Options are the real flex. Options mean you can walk away from a toxic job. Options mean you can survive a recession. Options mean you don't panic when markets dip. Most people don't actually want yachts. They want safety. They want breathing room. They want to stop feeling like one mistake away from collapse. But culture confuses safety with spectacle. We've been trained to think wealth should look loud. In reality, wealth often looks quiet. Here's a simple mental shift that changes everything. Stop asking, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" Start asking, "Does this increase or decrease my margin?" Margin is freedom. Margin is sleep at night. Margin is not checking your bank account before every purchase. When you prioritize margin, your decisions change. The 8-4-month car loan feels heavy. The luxury apartment slightly above budget feels risky. The spontaneous financed vacation feels less exciting. Because you're no longer optimizing for appearance. You're optimizing for durability. And durability wins long-term. There's another layer here that matters. If everyone around you is playing the visibility game, choosing the invisible game can feel isolating. You might drive an older car while friends upgrade. You might skip trips while others post beach photos. You might invest quietly while others consume loudly. It can feel like you're behind. But cycles matter. Every expansion phase makes leverage feel smart. Every downturn exposes who is swimming without margin. Economic cycles are predictable in one sense. They always return. Credit expands. Optimism rises. Spending accelerates. Then friction hits. And when friction hits, liquidity becomes oxygen. Right now, many people look rich because credit is still accessible. Because payments are still manageable. Because the economy hasn't fully forced discipline. But look at delinquency trends. Look at rising defaults in certain sectors. Those are early stress signals. They don't dominate headlines until they do. And when they do, the performance economy shifts fast. The ones with margin tighten and survive. The ones without margin scramble. This isn't about shaming spending. It's about recognizing incentives. You are surrounded by forces designed to make you feel behind. Advertising, algorithms, influencers, peer comparison. All of it pushes you toward visible upgrades. Very little pushes you toward invisible stability. So if you feel pressure, it's not weakness. It's exposure to a system built to monetize aspiration. The real power move in this environment is clarity. Clarity about what wealth actually is. Wealth is not the car. It's owning your time. Wealth is not the apartment view. It's financial flexibility. Wealth is not the vacation photo. It's not worrying about the bill afterward. Everyone looks rich because looking rich is easy. Money is harder. Money requires patience when everyone else is accelerating. Money requires restraint when everyone else is upgrading. Money requires confidence when everyone else is performing. And here's the final truth. You don't see most people's stress. You don't see the late-night calculations. You don't see the minimum payments. You don't see the quiet anxiety about layoffs, rent increases, or interest rates. You see the highlights. So, if you ever feel like you're the only one not crushing it, you're probably closer to reality than you think. In a culture obsessed with looking wealthy, choosing to build actual wealth is a rebellion. It's slower. It's quieter. It's less impressive online. But it's durable. And in uncertain times, durability beats display. Everyone looks rich. But very few people have margin. Very few people have options. Very few people have peace. The next time your feed makes you question your progress, ask yourself one thing. Are you building something real? Or just something visible? Because visibility fades. Margin stays. And when the noise quiets down, the quiet ones usually win.